tilting. It was like tilting, and it was scary. It was scary.
My legs are shaking now at that point because we can't go nowhere. So I'm like, what is it to do? I started to ask the people that was outside of the policemen.
Oh! Debbie Grady whipped out her phone and caught the beginning of the Sky Harbor geyser, the lids beginning to rumble, then all hell broke loose.
It was like, oh my God, what else is going to happen?
Going down the road and a truck come by, rocked me like a boat, floated me out.
North of Chicago in Gurnee, Illinois.
Unprecedented is what it's being called. Authorities say 2 months of rain fell in just 12 hours here in Gurnee, north of Chicago. It's not uncommon to see flooding here, but 1.6 trillion gallons of water fell this week on portions of Wisconsin and Illinois, where Bruce Rauner is the governor.
Folks think, well, it's not raining anymore. Things are just fine, or they're getting better. They're not.
In Lake County, Illinois, 5,800 buildings have reportedly been damaged by floodwater. Forecasters say flooding in the northern Chicago suburbs will get worse over the next few days as water flows down rivers into the state from Wisconsin. In Burlington, the town's 4 bridges remain closed because the swollen Fox River crested at more than 17 feet. Back in Gurnee, Illinois, we found Gary Campbell defiantly optimistic that the wall of sand he's put up around his home of nearly 40 years is going to hold.
Think you're going to be able to save it?
Well, I've survived all the other ones. The things you lose, that's another story.
Fleming County saw extreme widespread damage after heavy rain and storms moved through the area last night. The central office for Fleming County Schools has several feet of water inside, and Flemingsburg Elementary had water come through its roof and into several classrooms. At Cheap Chevrolet, hundreds of cars were damaged as well. Victor Puente surveyed the damage in Fleming County.
The people here at Cheap Chevrolet tell me they've owned this business since 1951. In the 66 years since then, they say water has never gotten this high. They joined a lot of people in Fleming County who spent today cleaning up a mess.
John Hyatt says he got a call around 2 a.m., a few hours after the storms had started. They were able to move a few cars before the water got too high.
At that time, once we found out, it was too late. It just come down really quick on us and caught us by surprise.
Yesterday, these cars were facing the road. Today, they're at an angle, lifted by the water into each other, and in one case, into a tree. Most have water damage that has ruined them.
There's probably close to 200 that we were unable to salvage.
The insurance company will be coming next week. Hyatt says they haven't done the math, but the dollar figure on that loss,
it's up there. It's a big number.
High water ruined those cars, but up the street, it was high winds that caused a mess. His family woke up around 1 when they heard a tree land on their roof.
And at that time, that's all we thought had happened. And it was until the rain lit up that we were able to come outside and we saw all this devastation and destruction.
Watson says at least 15 trees on their property are now down, including one on a car.
And I would assume that it's just gotten so wet and saturated with the heavy winds, this tree just went over.
She says she's thankful no one was hurt and thankful for the friends who have stepped up to help. That's a familiar story in Fleming County.
This thing caught us at 2 o'clock in the morning, and our phones haven't stopped ringing for people to ask for help and just showing up. Included in those vehicles that will most likely have to be totaled are 4 brand new Corvettes. Hyatt tells me the price on those ranges from $70,000 to $120,000. In Fleming County, Victor Puente, WIMT Mountain News.
Mason County also saw damage. A state of emergency was declared after major flooding took over streets there. Crews rescued more than a dozen people in the county overnight from either mobile homes or
has been declared for Mason County, Kentucky on Sunday due to extreme flooding. With multiple homes reportedly swept away, crews made over a dozen water rescues early in the morning from both mobile homes and cars. This, unlike anything the city of Maysville has ever seen.
You've seen there's evidence of, more cars piled up like Lincoln logs, like toys. Well, this is epic for us. We've never had anything like this.
Cartmel said he was unaware of any injuries, but one man is reported missing. Various roads were closed and a number of power outages were reported. In nearby Fleming County, officials say 6 to 7 inches of rain fell Saturday night, flooding many buildings like this elementary school.
Cleaning up. Several even have water inside their homes.
And Channel 4's Allison Henning spent the day following the floods and speaking with some of those hardest hit.
People who live in the area say this road floods every time there's a heavy downpour like this morning, and their recommendation to other drivers is turn around so you don't get stuck like this car right here.
If you don't got a big truck or a big SUV, you're going to get stuck. Case in point.
Several drivers heading down Main Street on the north side tried plowing through the floods. At its worst, one car after another, stalling right in the middle of the road.
The water hit my car and it started slowing down, and I tried to get in the middle and it just shut down on me.
Going down the road and a truck come by, rocked me like a boat and floated me out.
But a Walmart parking lot near 36th Street and Indian School may have just gotten the worst of it. Lexi Suter hearing from shoppers there. And Lexi, all of that rain, really something to see.
Yeah, certainly. And I've been out here for hours and it is still standing water. Get a look at this down there towards that rack right there, still a couple feet deep. And I want to show you just how powerful the winds really were here. Look at the roots of this tree. I mean, completely uprooted. And this is not a small tree. So as you can understand, when shoppers were coming out, they were pretty stunned.
Imagine walking out of Walmart and seeing this. The wind and rain so strong, this boat took off on its own. The palm trees look like they're about to snap, and loose shopping carts are slamming into cars. Once the weather finally calmed, the shock for customers began to set in.
Total madness.
People were stunned.
And then it was blowing, we couldn't even see across the street.
Trying to navigate their groceries and kids through this knee-deep water. Then getting out of the parking lot, a whole other hassle.
Not before. This is the first time that I see a lot of water, and that's scary, really.
Fortunately, no one was hurt, and as far as we know, all of these cars started. But people in this Walmart parking lot tell me they'll be talking about this monsoon for a while.
I don't know. It's crazy. It came down hard.
So I want to show you, you can see this van back here. I said a lot of these cars started, well, not this one, and there are some damage to other vehicles. But guys, after seeing that video that we just showed you, it is pretty much a miracle that it was not worse out here today. Reporting live in Phoenix
Flooding,
tonight.
damage, and power outages, the big headlines right now.
And of course, Amber's tracking what's next. But first, ABC 15's Joe Bartels is at Sky Harbor for quite the wild night, Joe.
The water was really gushing. They were coming out of these holes here, about a dozen of them marked sewer. And we talked to some people who were out here when they started gushing, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Sky Harbor looking like a harbor after this massive monsoon storm. Water shooting out of the ground and flooding the passenger pickup area at Terminal 4.
We came outside for a little bit because our flight got delayed. and it started to pour.
Whoa, whoa.
Debbie Grady whipped out her phone and caught the beginning of the Sky Harbor geyser, the lids beginning to rumble, then all hell broke loose.
It was like, oh my God, what else is going to happen? And then it actually shot up to the ceiling.
A 15-foot fountain of water gushing from the ground, that sent water curb to curb on both the north and south side pickups.
And then water started coming from almost everywhere, so we all ran.
Crews used a street sweeper to try and suck up the water, drivers dealing with several inches of water curb to curb. After about an hour, the gusher slowed outside, but inside, passengers at baggage claim dealing with delays caused by the weather after dozens of flights were diverted. So even at this hour, things are slowly getting back to normal here at Sky Harbor. The water has stopped gushing, but for folks who were affected by this storm, either in the air or if they were still on the ground, it's going to take some while before things are totally back to normal. Reporting.
Somewhere in Miami.
So Hank is live on Miami Beach. So describe what you're seeing, Hank.
Well, what's the old story in Florida? Wait 5 minutes and the sun will be out. Didn't happen this afternoon on Miami Beach at all. When I was heading towards work, I could look over my rearview mirror and see the dark clouds over the beach area. And by golly, it did rain, and it rained and rained and rained for probably a good hour over here. By the time we got here, this is the scene that we saw. And Ebenezer, if you can kind of pan around a little bit, we are at the corner of Alton and 5th. This is an area which over the years has flooded extensively. And remember, and Craig reported this, it's high tide this afternoon at 4:47, so that was just a few moments ago. This area here, I can tell you, it has gotten just a little bit better traffic-wise simply because it's quit raining. We've had quite a bit of lightning in the area. Let's take a look at some video now from the I-95 traffic camera that we have over this area. This is kind of where we are, and you can see that the traffic is a real mess. Just a big lightning bolt here just a little while ago, like seconds ago. We should hear the thunder here shortly. That was very nearby. But the traffic has gotten a bit better. Yeah, there you go. Not the best thing to be out here, but let's continue on. Let's look down at 14th and Pennsylvania, which is kind of in the heart of the beach, away from the actual beach itself, and there is flooding down in that area also. We had reports throughout the beach area where some businesses have had to revert back to the sandbags and to keep the water out. A lot of people just aren't moving. In fact, Ebenezer is taking the camera off of our Ebenezer Men's, my cameraman, taking it off of the tripod and giving you an idea how deep the water is. Unfortunately, the Miami drivers are exhibiting some of their more notable habits, if you will. Lots of horns, people driving fast, not understanding that this is a dangerous situation. We have seen a lot of cars being towed. The tow truck guys are having a field day out here and making their way through, dumping the cars, coming back for more. So that is good for their business. But if you flood your car out, in this particular situation, that car is pretty much done as far as your electrical. And so keep that in mind when you're driving. Keep to the center of the road if you can, and keep the...
begins after a downpour triggered flash flooding in Acton, California on Thursday. The downpour dropping more than 1.5 inches of rain in just 30 minutes. All of that water sweeping away cars, some with people still inside. This man rescued from his truck by crews using a helicopter. It was one of 4 air rescues carried out. For this homeowner, the flood left behind a wet mess.
There was nothing you could do. Like, you couldn't stop it. My whole entire house is flooded. The whole thing.
Near Santa Clarita, it was a stressful journey for dozens of riders on this Metrolink train after the train became trapped due to rising rushing water undermining the tracks.
We saw like a little bit of water, and then we noticed like the road turned to like flooded. It was like tilting. It was like tilting. It was like tilting. And it was scary. It was scary.
My legs are shaking now at that point because we can't go nowhere. So I'm like, what is it to do? I started to ask the people that was outside of the policemen, everybody, hey, what's going on?
The slow-moving downpours are causing flooding across the region. Well, this is what it looks like for drivers trying to get through Fairmount Park. Standing water is blocking the area of Sweetbriar and Lansdowne Drives, and it's a similar scene along Route 70 in Cherry Hill. Some cars even driving on the grassy median to avoid the standing water.
And heavy flooding rips through Akita Prefecture in northern Japan, forcing the evacuation of 25,000 residents.
うわ、やべえ、これバイクに当たんの嫌なんです。おおやばくねこれ。うおちょ怖っ CM でも
Islamabad. Elsewhere in Pakistan, lashing rains triggered deadly floods and landslides. Over 70 people died and 110 others injured in ongoing monsoon spell, particularly in country's southwestern and northwestern regions. Over 90 homes have been partially or fully destroyed in floods across the country.
Whenever there is a rainfall, the water rush to our homes and we have to leave our home in the middle of night to save our lives.
The effects of the climate change are coming down hard on Pakistan, with country's disaster management authority warning of more heavy rains and thunderstorms.
Due to unpredictable changes in weather caused by climate change, this flooding has become unpredictable. Flooding has become more than expected. It comes at a time when people are not prepared for, thereby leading a disaster-like situation. Earlier on, floods were, quite predictable phenomena.
Authorities in Pakistan have a track record of failing to evacuate people in advance from areas of danger before rivers break their banks. But that is not all. More worrying for Islamabad is the high flood in rivers flowing from India to Pakistan. Because of ongoing tension between two countries, New Delhi has refused to provide
Your city of Lagos, so they keep phase 1 with this.